Hello, hello, English learners. Welcome to Speak Unstoppable. This is your calm space to learn English through real, honest conversations. A place where you don't need perfect grammar, fast answers, or confidence that you don't feel yet. You don't need to impress anyone here. You just need to arrive. I'm Maria.
And I'm John. We're really glad you're here with us. Wherever you're listening from, whatever kind of day you've had, this moment is yours. You can slow down, you can breathe. Nothing is chasing you right now.
John, I've been thinking about something recently. Why is it that some people seem to completely transform their lives, while others feel stuck, doing the same things over and over?
That's a question I ask myself a lot. We see someone go from struggling to successful, and we wonder, what's the secret? Luck? Timing? Or is it something they're quietly doing every day that makes all the difference?
I realized the same thing when I was learning English. At first, it felt impossible. Too many words, too many rules. I kept thinking, if I just knew more vocabulary, I'd finally be fluent. But it wasn't that simple. Real progress came from small, consistent actions and a mindset shift.
Exactly. It's never about one big move. It's about tiny steps we take each day that build momentum. And that's what life is, isn't it? Small decisions, little habits, tiny choices adding up over time.
And here's the thing. So many people don't start because change feels overwhelming. There's fear. What if I try and fail? There's uncertainty. Where do I even start? And negative self-talk. I'm not a language person. I'll never be good at this.
Those thoughts stop progress before it even begins. And then there's the trap of waiting for motivation. People say, I'll start when I feel ready. But the truth? Motivation follows action, not the other way around.
I remember when I first tried to speak English confidently. I waited for the perfect moment. It never came. Until I started anyway, and each small attempt slowly changed everything. Confidence wasn't given, it was built.
That's why the first step in changing your life is understanding what holds you back. Fear, lack of direction, negative self-talk, waiting for motivation. They all create invisible walls. Recognize them, and you can begin to move through them.
And moving through them doesn't require a dramatic transformation overnight. It's the small, daily improvements that matter most. The 1% rule is a perfect example. Improve just 1% each day, and in a year, you're exponentially better.
Small changes compound quietly, almost invisibly, but they shape your habits, your identity, and your mindset. Reading for 10 minutes a day, practicing English consistently, replacing one negative thought with a positive one, these seem minor, but they create a foundation that grows stronger over time.
And the beauty is, it's simple to start. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need hours or strict schedules. Just a tiny step. One thing you can do today.
Exactly. Even 5 minutes of consistent effort, done mindfully, begins to shift how your brain works. You start noticing possibilities instead of obstacles. Small steps give your mind the chance to rewire itself gently, without pressure.
That's a key lesson for English learners, too. The language isn't learned through intense pressure. It's learned through calm consistency. A few words a day, one small conversation, a short reading passage. These build fluency over months, not minutes.
And while action is important, mindset is equally critical. How we think about change, about our abilities, shapes the results we achieve. Growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Believing I can improve versus thinking I'll never get this right.
And our brains naturally focus on what we train them to notice. That's why affirmations, visualization, and gratitude are so effective. If you focus on what's going well, your mind starts finding more of it. If you tell yourself, I am improving every day, your brain seeks evidence to support that thought.
And that sets the stage for progress. You start noticing tiny wins, appreciating small improvements, and the daily steps you take no longer feel meaningless. Every little effort counts, even when it feels invisible.
So if you're wondering how to start changing your life or improving your English, it's not about doing everything perfectly or all at once. It's about one small, intentional step today. That's where momentum begins.
And momentum is everything. One small action leads to another. One tiny choice compounds into confidence, skill, and clarity. You begin to see that you are capable of more than you realized, if you just start.
And that's where we'll pause for today's reflection. Think of one small habit or action you could begin right now. 10 minutes of English, one short paragraph of reading, one positive thought instead of a negative one. Just one.
That's right. Begin with something so small it feels easy. And notice how even that tiny step creates a subtle shift in your day. It's quiet, but it's meaningful.
And in the next part, we'll explore how your environment, your routines, and the people around you shape these small actions, and how to set yourself up for success in a gentle, realistic way.
Because change isn't just what you do, it's also who and what surrounds you. We'll dive into that next.
So, John, last time we talked about small actions and mindset, but I've been thinking, our surroundings play a huge role in whether those actions actually stick. You can want change, take tiny steps, but if your environment doesn't support you, it's much harder.
Absolutely. The people around us, the content we consume, even the physical spaces we spend time in, all of that quietly shapes our habits and our decisions. You might be taking steps toward improvement, but if your environment constantly distracts you or drags you down, progress feels impossible.
And it's subtle, isn't it? It's not always obvious when something in your environment is holding you back. It could be a friend who constantly complains, a social media feed that drains your energy, or even a cluttered space that makes your mind feel busy before the day even starts.
I noticed that myself when I was learning English. At first, I was trying to practice, but my notifications kept pulling me away. I had good intentions, but my surroundings didn't respect the small space I was trying to create for myself.
That's why setting up a supportive environment is such a quiet but powerful tool. It doesn't feel like effort. It's just about making the path smoother, removing distractions, creating routines, surrounding yourself with positivity. It all compounds over time.
Even tiny adjustments matter. A dedicated corner for reading or practicing, headphones to block out noise, a specific time of day you consistently show up for yourself. These small habits tell your brain, this is your space to focus, to grow, to improve.
And it goes beyond just physical space. Who you spend time with also shapes your momentum. There's a saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If those people lift you up, your energy rises. If they drag you down, it's easy to lose motivation, even with the best intentions.
That's why communities are so important. Being part of a group that values growth, whether it's learning English, personal development, or even a small hobby, changes everything. Suddenly, your small steps feel shared. You celebrate wins, navigate challenges, and learn faster.
And there's another layer too, the content you consume. Videos, books, podcasts, even social media. They're all teaching your brain something about what's possible, what's normal, what's expected. Choosing content that inspires rather than drains is part of shaping your environment for growth.
I remember when I joined a small English learning community. Before that, I was stuck in isolation, practicing inconsistently, feeling unsure. Once I had people to practice with, share struggles, and celebrate progress, everything shifted. It wasn't magic, it was consistency, support, and the right surroundings.
Exactly. Environment doesn't guarantee success, but it quietly supports the work you're already doing. It removes friction, reduces mental fatigue, and makes small steps feel easier. Over time, these small, supported steps compound into real change.
And it's not just about removing negatives, it's about actively adding positives. Follow inspirational people, read encouraging stories, listen to content that challenges you constructively. Over time, your mind starts seeing opportunities and solutions instead of obstacles and excuses.
And all of this, your environment, your routines, your communities, links back to habits. Small, repeated actions are the bridge between intention and change. A 10-minute English practice, a short daily reflection, one positive affirmation. These are tiny investments that multiply quietly.
That reminds me of a story. I know someone who wanted to learn English fluently. They didn't start with intense study plans. Instead, they listened to podcasts every day while commuting, practiced speaking for 5 minutes each morning, and connected with a small online learning group. Months later, their fluency improved dramatically.
That's the power of small, consistent actions. It's almost invisible at first, but over weeks and months, it reshapes your brain, your confidence, and your habits. And it doesn't matter if the steps seem minor. Each step matters because it builds momentum, and momentum compounds quietly.
And when you combine the right environment with daily small actions, it's like giving your mind permission to grow. Your brain starts wiring itself differently. Your habits stick more naturally. Your confidence rises without forcing it.
And here's a thought. Most people try to change everything at once and then feel exhausted or fail. But when you focus on small, supported, consistent changes, the process feels gentle. It's sustainable. You're not fighting yourself, you're working with yourself.
Exactly. It's like planting seeds. You water them a little each day, give them sunlight, remove the weeds around them. You don't dig up the entire garden every morning, but slowly, everything grows.
And this isn't just about English or productivity, it applies to any area of life. Habits, mindset, relationships, learning, small, consistent efforts within a supportive environment create real transformation.
And the beauty is, once you start noticing these small changes, you become more aware of what's helping you and what's holding you back. Awareness itself becomes a tool. You start curating your life, your mind, and your routines intentionally rather than reacting passively.
And that's what we want for you. A quiet, deliberate approach to growth. Small steps, the right environment, consistent habits, and an awareness of what matters most. Over time, these elements converge, and you'll look back and notice how far you've come.
So if you've been feeling stuck or wondering why change feels impossible, start here. Notice your environment. Take one small action today and create a space that quietly supports you. That's where momentum begins.
And in the next part, we'll explore the mindset shifts that make all these small actions truly effective. How your thoughts, beliefs, and self-talk shape whether these tiny steps lead to meaningful progress.
Because it's not just about what you do, it's also about how you think about what you do. And that's where real transformation begins.
So, John, now that we've talked about environment and small, consistent actions, let's dive into mindset. Because honestly, our thoughts shape almost everything we do. Your environment can support you, your actions can be consistent, but if your mind is working against you, progress slows down.
Absolutely. And what's tricky is that most people aren't even aware of their inner dialogue. They say things like, "I'll never be good at this," or "I'm not made for learning," without realizing how much that quiet self-talk is steering their choices.
And it's subtle, isn't it? It creeps in slowly. You might try something new, fail a little, and before you know it, your brain is spinning stories about why it's too hard, too late, or impossible.
That's where the idea of mindset becomes powerful. There's this concept, growth mindset versus fixed mindset. If you have a growth mindset, you believe your abilities can improve through effort, learning, and practice. If you have a fixed mindset, you believe talent is static, that you either have it or you don't.
And that small difference changes everything. With a growth mindset, mistakes aren't failures, they're feedback. Challenges aren't roadblocks, they're opportunities to practice resilience and creativity.
Exactly. And here's another concept that ties directly to this. Your reticular activating system, or RAS. It's a little part of your brain that filters everything you notice. You see, when you focus on improvement, your brain starts noticing opportunities, people, and resources that support your growth. But if you focus on limits, excuses, or failures, your brain notices those instead.
It's fascinating, isn't it? The same environment and circumstances can feel supportive or overwhelming, depending on where your attention goes. And that's why mindset isn't just abstract, it's practical. It literally changes what you see and how you act.
And that's where self-talk comes in. The words we quietly repeat to ourselves, the thoughts we entertain, they shape our reality. Positive self-talk like, "I am improving every day," or "small steps lead to progress," rewires the brain to notice growth instead of failure.
And when you combine that with visualization, it becomes even more powerful. Imagine yourself succeeding in small, concrete ways. See yourself practicing English, speaking confidently, finishing a small goal. Your brain begins to treat that imagined success as familiar, which reduces fear and increases motivation.
And let's not forget gratitude. A simple daily practice of noticing what's going well trains your brain to focus on opportunities and resources instead of obstacles. That quiet shift in attention is subtle but accumulates over time, helping your mindset stay grounded and optimistic.
And here's an important thing. These mindset practices don't need to be complicated. Even just a few minutes of intentional thinking, a small visualization, or a short gratitude reflection each day starts to reprogram your brain.
I remember when I first started learning English. I kept telling myself, "I'll never be fluent," and I literally avoided speaking. My environment could have been perfect, my routines could have been solid, but my mindset kept me stuck.
And the moment you shift that internal story, everything changes. You start noticing small wins. You start enjoying the process. Mistakes become opportunities instead of evidence that you're failing.
That's why we often say progress comes before confidence. You don't wait to feel ready, you start acting, even imperfectly, and confidence grows alongside action.
And there's this concept I love. Done is better than perfect. Too many people wait for ideal conditions, perfect timing, or flawless execution, but real change comes from taking imperfect action consistently.
Exactly. Small, deliberate steps build momentum. Every tiny action feeds your brain's RAS, reinforces your growth mindset, and strengthens habits. The compounding effect is quiet but incredibly powerful.
And you don't need huge dramatic actions. Speaking English for 5 minutes, writing a few sentences, reflecting for 2 minutes. These are small, manageable wins that accumulate over time.
And the mindset piece ties directly back to what we discussed about environment. Your surroundings, your routines, your people, they amplify or dampen these mental practices. A supportive environment makes it easier to sustain positive self-talk, visualization, and consistent action.
And another subtle but important point, notice your language. Words like try, almost, or can't shape your perception. Replace them with I'm practicing, I'm learning, or I'm improving. It's not about perfection, it's about gentle guidance of your own attention.
And over time, this combination of mindset, small consistent actions, and supportive environment quietly transforms how you experience growth. You notice progress, feel more motivated, and your confidence expands without pressure.
That's the magic, isn't it? It's not a single event, it's not a huge breakthrough. It's the daily, intentional, small steps supported by environment and mindset that create lasting transformation.
And when you notice that, the idea of change stops being scary. It becomes accessible. You realize, I can improve, I can act, I can grow, because you've been doing it quietly every day.
And in the next part, we'll explore how to connect all of this, the actions, the environment, and the mindset, into a routine that feels natural, a rhythm that supports your English learning, your personal growth, and your sense of calm.
Because it's not just about learning English or making life changes, it's about creating a life where progress feels natural, sustainable, and even enjoyable.
So, John, now that we've explored mindset, environment, and small daily actions, let's bring it all together. Let's talk about building a rhythm, a daily flow that feels natural, not forced, and that supports both learning English and creating a life that feels lighter.
Absolutely. Because it's one thing to understand habits and mindset, but if it's all scattered, it doesn't stick. A rhythm helps your brain anticipate, engage, and gradually deepen skills without pressure.
And rhythm doesn't mean rigid schedules, it's about tiny anchor points that guide your day. For example, maybe you read a short passage every morning with your coffee, or you listen to English for 10 minutes while walking. Those small, consistent moments create a quiet structure that your brain learns to rely on.
And consistency compounds. One day feels small, a week feels doable, a month feels natural. And suddenly, without forcing yourself, you realize you've built a new habit, strengthened your attention, and even reshaped your mindset.
And here's the beautiful part. Your rhythm can include variety. Some days you focus on reading, other days speaking, some days writing. This variety keeps your brain engaged and prevents burnout while still building consistent growth.
And tying it back to mindset, each small action reinforces your growth mindset. Every time you practice, no matter how little, your brain gets feedback that improvement is possible. And that quiet reinforcement builds confidence more than forcing yourself into marathon sessions ever could.
And we also want to highlight patience. It's tempting to measure progress by immediate results. Did I speak fluently today? Did I memorize 10 words? But transformation is often invisible at first. It's the subtle changes, the ease of focusing for a few minutes, the quiet satisfaction of finishing a page, the small spark of curiosity that indicate real growth.
Exactly. Think of it like planting seeds. You water them consistently, but you don't see flowers the next day. You trust the process. You keep nurturing it, and over time, the garden grows. That's how habits, Mindset and environment interact to create lasting change.
And this is where English learning becomes effortless. When you integrate it into your daily rhythm, it stops feeling like a task or obligation. Instead, it becomes a gentle, enjoyable part of your day, like brushing your teeth or making tea.
And that's powerful, because your brain associates learning with ease and comfort, not pressure. That makes retention, understanding, and practical usage much stronger.
And it doesn't have to take hours. Even 10 or 15 focused minutes each day, reading, listening, speaking, or writing, accumulates into real progress. And when you add in a mindset practice, like a short affirmation, visualization, or gratitude reflection, it magnifies the effect.
And that's exactly why routines feel so freeing. They create space for growth without creating stress. Your day flows, your brain knows what to expect, and your confidence rises quietly, steadily.
And here's a simple way to start building that rhythm. Pick 3 anchor points in your day: morning, midday, evening, or whatever fits your life. Assign one small learning or growth activity to each point. It could be 10 minutes of reading, listening to an English podcast, journaling, or reflecting on a small win.
And keep it flexible. Some days you might combine 2 anchor points. Some days, only 1. The goal isn't perfection. It's gentle consistency that your brain begins to anticipate and rely on.
And as these moments become natural, notice the ripple effect. You'll find your mind clearer, your attention sharper, your emotions steadier. Learning English won't feel like a chore, and life won't feel like a constant race.
That reflection ties everything together. It helps you notice progress that feels invisible in the moment. It strengthens your awareness, your gratitude, and your sense of agency.
And once you do this for a few weeks, the small actions, the mindset practices, and the supportive environment become second nature. You start to move forward with more ease, and the fear, self-doubt, and hesitation quietly fade.
That's the essence of transformation. Not dramatic, not overnight, not exhausting, but steady, calm, and deliberate. That's how change becomes sustainable.
And here's the gentle reminder we want every listener to take with them. You don't need to wait for motivation, perfection, or the perfect moment. Start small. Start today. Even one tiny action creates momentum.
And every action compounds. 10 minutes of reading today, a short reflection tomorrow, speaking for 5 minutes the next day. These moments quietly add up. Before you know it, your mind is sharper, your English is stronger, and your life feels more intentional.
And that's the magic of combining habits, mindset, and environment in a rhythm that feels natural. It's not flashy, it's not instant, but it's real, and it works.
So here's a small challenge for you. Look at your day. Pick one small anchor point. Choose one tiny action: reading, listening, speaking, reflecting. Commit to it today. That's it, just one. And notice how it feels.
And if you can, share it in the comments. Not for approval, not for validation, but to witness yourself taking action. Even small steps deserve recognition. And remember, this journey isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about learning to move gently, consistently, and intentionally. Your mind, your English, and your life all benefit from this calm, steady rhythm.
And that's exactly why we created this space with Speak Unstoppable. A place where you can slow down, learn, grow, and feel supported without pressure, without judgment.
So take your small step today. Listen to your rhythm, honor your anchor points, and trust that even the tiniest action compounds into real transformation. You've got this.
We're proud of you for showing up, for listening, and for choosing yourself today. Your journey continues with every small, intentional action you take.
And we'll see you next time in another calm, intentional conversation where we explore, reflect, and grow together, one step at a time.